Hi, I'm Brian Vieira, and welcome to Higher Ordered Thinking Through Documents, or H.O.T Docs for short. This course will teach you about the 10 most important documents in American history, and you will learn the most important ideas from those documents. We will take a journey back into the past to understand how the past has shaped our present. So come with me and join our discussion today. And today we're going to look at the Declaration of Independence. Now, some of you know about this document. You've learned about it since elementary school. Indeed, most of you know much about the document. You may know, for example, who wrote the document: Thomas Jefferson. When the document was written, in 1776. And even where, in Philadelphia. But our key question for today, what I want you to walk away with, is why the document was written. Why was the Declaration of Independence written? And why does it still have relevance for us today? Why is it still relevant for our day? History is important because it teaches us to understand the past so that we can understand our present and create or predict our future. So come with me on this journey as we look at the Declaration of Independence, its principles, its purpose, the passion in the document, and why we can use those ideas, in fact, why we desperately need its ideas today. Well, let me begin then with the document itself. What is it? The Declaration of Independence is a statement, a formal statement, drafted by 5 delegates at the Second Continental Congress to declare independence from England. Its primary author is Thomas Jefferson, and he submitted that document to a committee, and there were several changes. But at the end of the day, on July 4th, 1776, the Congress adopted the document, and here's why. There were 3 reasons. 1, it contained a theory of government and its relationship to the people. 2, it listed the grievances of the colonies. And 3rd was a declaration of war by independence. So the end of that day on July 4th, 1776, the 13 American colonies had become 13 United States. And they were no longer subject to the King of England. At the end of that day, America had a document that defined its very existence. And that's what I want to look at today. What were the key principles of the Declaration of Independence and their ideas? I want you to jot down, if you're listening to me, jot these down. Its ideas are found in its language, its high and lofty and magnificent language. The document begins this way: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles, and organizing its powers in such forms as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. Now, that wasn't the beginning of the document. That was really the second paragraph of it, but it's the part that we're most familiar with. And there's good reason for that. Because in that section, Jefferson articulates the American creed. What do I mean by the American creed? It means what we ought to believe as Americans. What, in fact, makes us Americans. What defines what it means to be an American. And what is that creed? The creed is simple. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Self-evident meaning that you don't have to argue about this. There's no argument about these truths. What are these truths that are so self-evident that anyone can know just by looking at the facts? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Let's start with the first statement. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Wow, that's an American statement. And yes, it was made by philosophers in continental Europe before that. Jefferson wasn't the first one to make that statement, but America is the first nation to adopt that statement as its creedal statement, as the foundational statement in its history, that all men are created equal. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Hey, wait a minute, this nation had slavery. Wait a minute, there was segregation and all of that, and I agree. But the fault was not with the nation's ideals. The fault was with the men, the flawed men, who did not carry out those ideals. And yet the nation, because it had at its root that all men are created equal, was able to rise above the flawed nature of its people and to institute a new government and create a better society. And we're still on the trajectory. We're still going forward to make all men treated equally before the law. But we begin with the statement that all men are created equal. That is the foundation of America. It is the foundation of our government. It is the foundation of our law. There is no America. There is no law without that statement. All men are created equal. Jefferson continues, and are endowed or given at birth by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And it's very important that people come into the world with certain rights. Government does not give you your rights. Until the Enlightenment philosophers, until Jefferson's statement, so compact and so beautiful, people believed, honestly, that government gave them their rights, that government had the power of life and death over people. The monarch believed that he obtained rights from God to rule, the divine right of kings. But not so. In the very cradle of our democracy, the principle is laid down. You come into this world with God-given rights, endowed by your Creator with certain unalienable rights, and those rights that God gives you, that your Creator gives you, are unalienable. They can't be taken away. They cannot be taken away. Government didn't give them to you, and government can't take them away. And every American should know that and put it somewhere deep into our hearts. Yes, 1, all men are created equal. 2, and so importantly, we have our rights from God and not from government. But he continues, he defines these unalienable rights. That among these, not the only ones, but among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That it's every man's right to have life, his own life, to have liberty, to be free, and to pursue the life that brings him true happiness, as long as it doesn't go against the law. But it is man's right, born with the right, to have life, to have liberty, and to be able to pursue a just and righteous and good life, as he defines it. All men are created equal, and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now here's an incredible statement, and that to secure these rights, watch it now, to secure these rights. Now the word secure means to obtain, to protect. But in this case, it really means to protect, to secure, to keep these rights from being destroyed. That to secure these rights, to protect these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And that statement is worthy of analysis. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. At the very purpose of government, the reason government is instituted or placed among people, the reason that this happens is for one purpose only, and that is to secure or to protect or to maintain those unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And government was not put in place to control the individual, to control the people. Government was put in place to make sure that man's life, man's liberty, and man's right to pursue happiness, and woman's right, yes, was being protected. And Jefferson adds this now, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Now, watch that now. Look at that statement. Deriving or getting their just or their fair powers from where? From whom? From the consent, the permission of the governed or the people. In other words, government gets its power from the permission of the people.